The scout ship Harmonious voice glided silently through the outer edges of the Sol system. Inside the command center, Ambassador Krell adjusted his translation device and studied the blue planet on his screen. Earth, the third planet from its sun, home to a species that had just discovered basic spaceflight. Another primitive civilization, said Science Officer Ven, her scales shimmering under the ship's lights. They've barely left their home world. Standard first contact protocols should work. Krell nodded slowly. The Zeltharian communion had contacted hundreds of species over the centuries. The pattern was always the same. Young civilizations were amazed to learn they weren't alone. They were grateful for guidance. They joined the galactic community with wide eyes and open hearts. This would be no different. Take us to their moon, Krell ordered. We'll establish our greeting station on the far side. Let them come to us when they're ready. The ship moved swiftly. Within hours, the Zeltharians had set up a small diplomatic outpost on the lunar surface. Their sensors showed that humans had a few small stations in orbit around Earth. Primitive chemical rockets carried their astronauts. Radio waves filled the space around their planet with noise and chatter. They're definitely at the expected level, Ven confirmed. Perhaps a century away from joining interstellar civilization naturally. Krell activated the greeting beacon. It would appear on every human radar and communication system. A simple message. You are not alone. We come in peace. Meet us. The response came faster than expected. Within 3 hours, a human spacecraft approached the Zeltharian outpost. It was a simple vessel, clearly built for utility rather than beauty. The hull bore symbols and text in one of Earth's many languages. A voice crackled through the communication system. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Agency. We received your message. Permission to dock? Krell felt a flutter of excitement. First contact was always special. Permission granted, Commander Chen. Welcome. The docking went smoothly. When the airlock opened, Commander Chen floated through with practiced ease. She was tall for her species, with dark hair tied back and sharp, intelligent eyes. 2 other humans followed her. What struck Krell immediately was their calmness. Most species meeting aliens for the first time showed fear, excitement, or overwhelming curiosity. These humans seemed ... comfortable. Ambassador Krell, Chen said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture Krell had studied. It's good to finally meet you. Finally. Strange word choice. The honor is ours, Commander, Krell replied, carefully shaking her hand. Your species has reached an exciting moment in its history. The galaxy welcomes humanity.
Ow.
Chen smiled. It seemed genuine, but there was something in her eyes. Knowledge? Amusement? Krell couldn't identify it. We're grateful, Chen said. We've prepared a welcome ceremony at our lunar station. Would you and your team like to attend? We thought it would be appropriate to mark this historic moment. The ceremony was held at the human lunar base. It was larger than Krell had expected. The construction was solid, functional, and surprisingly advanced in some ways. The life support systems worked more efficiently than they should have for such a young civilization. Human officials gathered to greet the Zeltharians. There were speeches about friendship and cooperation. Music played. Food was shared. Everything followed the standard pattern of first contact. But Krell kept noticing small things, the way human. Security officers positioned themselves, suggested military training far beyond what a species of their level should possess. The technology in the lunar base had features that didn't match Earth's supposed development timeline. And most puzzling of all, every human he met seemed unsurprised by alien life. Commander Chen, Krell said during a quiet moment, your people are taking this very well. Most species experience significant cultural shock when learning they're not alone. Chen's smile deepened. We're adaptable. It's one of our strengths. Before Krell could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Ven's voice came through Krell's communication device, urgent and frightened. Ambassador, our sensors have detected a massive fleet entering the system. Void Reavers! The blood in Krell's veins turned cold. Void Reavers. The terror of the galaxy. Pirates and destroyers who had ravaged civilizations for 3 centuries. No military force had ever stopped them. They moved between systems, destroying everything in their path, taking what they wanted and vanishing before help could arrive. And they were here. How many ships? Krell demanded. At least 30 capital vessels, Ven replied. They're on an intercept course. Estimated arrival at Earth in 6 hours. Panic spread through the room as the translation of Ven's message reached everyone. Zeltharian diplomats began shouting orders. They had to evacuate. They had to warn the Communion. They had to please. Everyone calm down, Chen said, her voice cutting through the chaos. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at her. Don't worry about the Reavers, Chen continued, her tone as casual as if discussing the weather. It's being handled. Krell couldn't believe what he was hearing. Commander, with respect, you don't understand? The Void Reavers are unstoppable. Your planet has no defenses against them. We need to evacuate immediately, and Ambassador Krell Chen interrupted gently. I appreciate your concern, but trust me, the situation is under control. She touched a device on her wrist and spoke quietly. Chen 2, Perimeter Command. We have Reaver vessels at the edge of the system. Please redirect them, confirmed Commander. A voice replied. Redirecting now? Redirect? What did that mean? Krell rushed to the nearest console and pulled up the sensor data. His hands trembled as he watched the display. The Void Reaver fleet was massive. 37 warships, each capable of destroying a city. They were moving at attack speed, weapons charged, heading straight for Earth, and then, between one moment and the next, they vanished. Not destroyed. Not disabled. Simply ... gone. The sensors showed no explosion, no debris, no energy signatures. The fleet had been there, and now it wasn't. What did you do? Krell whispered. Chen walked over to stand beside him, looking at the empty sensor display. We asked them to leave. They left. But that's impossible. No one has ever stopped the Void Reavers. No one has ever ambassadored, Chen said, and for the first time her expression became serious. There's a lot about humanity you don't know yet. The galaxy is more complicated than the Communion realizes. And Earth... She paused, choosing her words carefully. Earth is more than it appears. Krell stared at her. His mind raced with questions, theories, and impossible possibilities. Who were these humans really? What had he just witnessed? And why did Commander Chen look at him with such patient understanding, as if she had been waiting for this moment all along? I think Krell said slowly that we need to have a longer conversation. Chen nodded. I think you're right. But first, let's finish the ceremony. We have guests to honor. She smiled again, that mysterious smile. After all, this is supposed to be humanity's first contact with the galaxy. We should make it memorable. As the celebration resumed around him, Krell stood frozen, watching the humans laugh and talk and celebrate. They moved with the ease of people who held no fear of the universe, and somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrifying thought began to form. What if humanity wasn't the one making first contact? What if humanity had been out there in the galaxy all along? Aliens made first contact, then realized humanity was the galaxy's supreme force, .. Part 2. The pattern emerges. Krell didn't sleep that night. How could he? His entire understanding of the galaxy had been shaken in a single moment. The Void Reavers had vanished. Simply disappeared, as if they had never existed. And the humans had acted like it was nothing special. Like redirecting an unstoppable fleet of destroyers was as simple as directing traffic in his quarters on the lunar base. Krell accessed every piece of data the Harmonious Voice had collected about Earth. He reviewed sensor logs, communication intercepts, and historical databases. The more he looked, the less sense it made. Ven appeared on his communication screen. Ambassador, you should rest. The formal talks begin tomorrow. I can't rest, Ven. Something is very wrong here. Krell pulled up the sensor data from the Reaver incident. Look at this. The fleet didn't jump to hyperspace. They didn't activate any known form of propulsion. They just stopped being there. Spatial folding technology, Ven suggested. Perhaps the humans have some kind of advanced defensive system we haven't detected. That's what I thought at first. But I've been analyzing the energy signatures. Krell highlighted several readings. There was no power spike, no gravitational distortion, nothing that would indicate any technology we know about. Ven's expression grew troubled. What are you saying? I don't know what I'm saying. That's the problem. Krell switched to another dataset. But look at this. I've been reviewing human broadcasts in their public information network. They call it the Internet, and their official history says they achieved spaceflight less than a century ago. But their orbital infrastructure is extensive. Too extensive. They have satellites and stations we didn't detect on our initial scans because they're using some kind of stealth technology. Why would a young civilization need stealth satellites? Ven leaned closer to her screen. That is unusual. There's more. Krell pulled up communication records. I found references to human embassies on other worlds. Not Earth colonies. Embassies. As if they've been part of galactic civilization for much longer than they claim. That must be a translation error. I thought so too. But then I started looking through Communion historical archives. Krell's hands moved quickly across the interface. 300 years ago, there was a border dispute between the Communion and the Corvan Republic. It almost became a war. But both sides suddenly agreed to peace negotiations. I remember learning about that in school, Ven said. It was considered a miracle of diplomacy. The peace treaty was mediated by a group called the Guardians. No one knows who they were. They appeared, helped negotiate the peace, and then vanished. The treaty was signed in a script that our linguists couldn't identify at the time. Krell displayed an image of the ancient document. Look at the signature. Ven gasped. That's human writing. Ancient human script, but definitely human. Exactly. And that was 300 years ago. Long before humans supposedly achieved spaceflight, Krell scrolled through more files. I've found 6 other historical incidents like this. Treaties signed by mysterious mediators. Peace agreements that appeared out of nowhere. Conflicts that resolved themselves inexplicably. And when I look closely at the records, there are always hints of these guardians. Always references to mysterious helpers who spoke strange languages and then disappeared. Are you suggesting humans have been involved in galactic affairs for centuries? I'm suggesting it might be longer than that. Wow. Krell opened another file. I accessed the Communion's Xenorchaeology database. 70 years ago, a research team found ruins on Dravik Prime. The ruins were dated at over 10,000 years old. They found written records in multiple languages. One of those languages was identified as similar to ancient Earth languages. But the researchers dismissed it as coincidental evolution of writing systems. Ben was quiet for a long moment. Ambassador, what you're suggesting is impossible. Humans are right there on Earth. We can see their development. They have a recorded history. Do they? Krell challenged. Or do they have a recorded history that they want us to see? Every piece of human history before a certain point becomes vague. There are gaps in their archaeological record. Periods where their development doesn't match the expected pattern. You think they're hiding their true history? I think we need answers. Krell stood up. Request a meeting with Commander Chen. Tomorrow morning. Tell her I have questions about human history and galactic involvement. The meeting was arranged quickly. Too quickly, Krell thought. As if Chen had been expecting this conversation, they met in a conference room overlooking Earth. The blue planet rotated slowly below them. It's peaceful and beautiful. Krell had to remind himself that this peaceful-looking world had somehow made an entire Reaver fleet disappear. Ambassador Krell Chin greeted him warmly. I understand you have questions. Many questions, Commander. Krell activated a display showing all his research. I found inconsistencies in the official narrative about humanity. References to human involvement in galactic events that supposedly happened before your species achieved spaceflight. Ancient documents with human writing. Unexplained incidents that seem to involve human intervention. Chen looked at the display without surprise. You've been thorough? Are you going to deny it? No. Chen folded her hands calmly. You're correct, Ambassador. Humanity's involvement in the galaxy goes back much further than our official history suggests. Krell had expected denials, explanations, anything but straightforward confirmation. How much further? That's a complicated question. The answer might be difficult to accept. I need to know the truth, Commander. My people need to know what we're dealing with. Chen studied him for a moment, as if measuring something. Finally, she nodded. Do you know what the greatest challenge is in making first contact, Ambassador? The sudden change of subject confused Krell. Suppose it's finding common ground. Establishing trust. Those are challenges, yes. But the greatest challenge is deciding when to make contact. Chen stood and walked to the window. When do you tell a developing civilization the truth about the galaxy? Too early, and you overwhelm them. They become dependent on more advanced species. They never reach their full potential. That's standard communion policy, Krell agreed. We wait until species achieve basic spaceflight before contact. Yes, and it's a good policy. Chen turned back to face him. But what happens when a species reaches spaceflight early? What happens when they discover the truth about the galaxy before they're ready? What happens when they encounter threats they can't handle? They struggle. They learn. They grow stronger, or they fail. Exactly. Chen's expression became serious. Now imagine you're a species that learned this lesson the hard way. A species that faced extinction multiple times before learning how to survive. A species that eventually became powerful enough to protect others from the same dangers. What would you do? Krell's mind raced. You'd help them. But secretly, you'd let them develop naturally while protecting them from threats they couldn't handle. We call it gardening, Chen said softly. You plant seeds. You water them. You protect them from pests and storms, but you let them grow at their own pace. You don't force them. You don't control them. You just help when help is needed. How long? Krell whispered. How long have humans been doing this? Longer than most civilizations have existed. Chen walked back to the table. Earth is our home, Ambassador, but it hasn't always been our only home. And humanity is much older than your records show. The gaps in your history are intentional. We reset periodically. We let new generations grow up thinking they're discovering space travel for the first time. It keeps us humble. It keeps us connected to our origins. Krell slumped in his chair. The Void Reavers are one of many threats we manage. They've been around for centuries because they're useful in some ways. They keep other species from becoming complacent. But when they go too far, we redirect them, making them disappear. By relocating them to empty areas of space where they can't hurt anyone, Chen smiled slightly. They'll wake up in a few weeks, very confused and very far from here. Why are you telling me this now? Because you asked the right questions. And because the galaxy is changing, Ambassador. It's growing more complex. Threats are emerging that require cooperation from species like yours. We can't manage everything alone anymore. We need partners who understand the truth. Grell looked out at Earth again. The peaceful blue world that was apparently the home of the galaxy's secret guardians. I need proof, he said finally. I need to see evidence of what you're claiming. I need to understand the scope of human involvement in the galaxy. Chen nodded, as if she had expected this. There's a place we can take you. We call it the Archive. It contains records of everything humanity has done in the galaxy over the past 50,000 years. She paused. But I have to warn you, Ambassador. Once you see the Archive, you can't unsee it. The truth about the galaxy will be clear, and it's a heavy burden to carry. Krell stood up, his decision made. I need to know. My people deserve to know what we're truly dealing with. Very well. Chen extended her hand. Tomorrow morning, we'll take you to the Archive. Bring whoever you trust most. This is going to be a long day. As Krell left the meeting, his mind spun with implications. Humanity wasn't a young species making first contact. They were ancient guardians revealing themselves after millennia of secret protection. The question now was, why reveal themselves now? What was coming that required humanity to step out of the shadows? And what role would the communion play in whatever came next? Aliens made first contact, then realized humanity was the galaxy's supreme force, Part 3. The archive. The transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere just before dawn. Krell sat beside Commander Chen, watching the planet's surface approach. Ven and two other Zeltharian officers accompanied them. Chen had insisted they bring only people they trusted completely. "Where exactly are we going?" Krell asked. "Antarctica," Chen replied. "The southern continent. It's remote, cold, and mostly empty. A good place to keep secrets." The ship landed on a vast ice field. The landscape was white in every direction, broken only by distant mountains. The cold was intense, even through Krell's environmental suit. Chen led them to what looked like a small research station. But as they approached, Krell noticed details that didn't fit. The walls were too smooth. The materials were too advanced. And there were no visible power sources, yet the entire complex hummed with energy. "How old is this facility?" Ven asked. "This entrance was built about 500 years ago," Chen said. "But it leads to something much older." They entered through heavy doors that opened silently. Inside, the complex was warm and lit with soft light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Human technicians nodded to Chen as they passed. Everyone moved with quiet efficiency. Chen led them to an elevator. As the doors closed, Krell felt the descent begin. They dropped for a long time. Minutes passed. They had to be miles underground now. "The archive was built 12,000 years ago," Chen explained as they descended. "During what we call the Third Renaissance. That was when humanity decided to become guardians rather than conquerors." "Third Renaissance," Krell repeated. "How many have there been?" 7 major ones. Humanity has risen and fallen several times throughout history. Each time, we've learned something new. Each time, we've become wiser. The elevator finally stopped. The doors opened onto a vast chamber that took Krell's breath away. It was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. Rows of crystalline structures stretched as far as he could see, each one glowing with soft blue light. The air itself seemed to shimmer with data. "Welcome to the archive," Chen said. "The complete record of humanity's role in the galaxy for the past 50,000 years. A holographic interface materialized in front of them. Chen gestured, and images began to appear in the air. Star maps, ship designs, faces of countless alien species, events unfolding across millennia. "I'll start with the basics," Chen said. "Humanity achieved interstellar travel 48,000 years ago. We were young, ambitious, and foolish. We thought we could conquer the galaxy. The hologram showed human ships spreading across space, colonies on distant worlds, conflicts with other species. We made enemies, lots of enemies, and we learned that conquest creates nothing but pain and destruction. We nearly destroyed ourselves in a war with the Keltheran Empire. You won't find records of them in your databases. They've been extinct for 30,000 years." Krell watched images of massive space battles. Entire planets burning. Fleets of ships fighting desperate battles. We won that war, but barely. And we realized something important. Power without wisdom is useless. Strength without compassion creates only suffering. So we changed. Images shifted. Human ships began to look different, more peaceful. Instead of weapons, they carried supplies. Instead of armies, they brought aid. We started helping instead of conquering. When young civilizations faced extinction-level threats, we intervened. Quietly, secretly, we let them believe they had survived through their own efforts. "Why?" Vin asked. "Why not reveal yourselves? Take credit for your help? Because dependency is another form of slavery," Chen said. "If civilizations know a powerful guardian is protecting them, they become weak. They stop solving their own problems. They wait for rescue instead of developing strength." She pulled up more images. "We learned to be invisible, to work in the background, to be the wind that guides the ship, not the captain who steals the wheel." Krell stared at the data flowing past. Thousands of events, millions of lives saved, countless disasters prevented. "Show me the Zeltharian interventions," he said quietly. Chen nodded. The hologram focused on a new set of records. The Communion has faced 17 extinction-level threats since your species achieved spaceflight, Chen said. You know about 3 of them? Images appeared. Krell recognized some of them from history lessons. 200 years ago, the Korvan Republic developed a bioweapon. It was designed to target Zeltharian biology specifically. It would have killed 90% of your population within months. I've never heard of this, Krell said, his voice shaking, because we stole the weapon before it could be deployed. We made it look like an accident in the Korvan research facility. Both sides thought it was a laboratory failure. No one suspected outside intervention. More images appeared. An asteroid that should have hit the Zeltharian homeworld, but mysteriously changed course. A plague that appeared and then vanished without explanation, leaving doctors confused but grateful. A terrorist organization that planned to poison the Communion's water supply, but was arrested the day before their attack based on an anonymous tip. You've been protecting us, Krell whispered. All this time, not just you, everyone. Chen expanded the display to show the entire galaxy. Thousands of intervention points lit up like stars. Every spacefaring civilization has been helped at least once. Most have been helped dozens of times. We stop wars before they start. We redirect dangerous asteroids. We provide anonymous technological hints when species get stuck at critical development points. We eliminate threats that young civilizations couldn't possibly handle. The Void Reavers, Krell said, understanding dawning. You've been managing them. For 3 centuries. They serve a purpose, actually. They keep military forces sharp. They remind civilizations not to become complacent. But we make sure they never do permanent damage. When they go too far, we relocate them. Ven stepped forward, studying the data. This must require enormous resources. Thousands of ships. Millions of personnel. We have approximately 50 million humans working in the Galactic Protection Network, Chen confirmed. They live on hidden stations throughout the galaxy. They monitor threats. They intervene when necessary. Most of them never visit Earth. They're born in space, work in space, and die in space. All to protect species they'll never meet. Krell felt overwhelmed. Why are you showing us this now? Chen's expression became serious. Because the galaxy is changing. New threats are emerging. Threats that even we can't handle alone. She pulled up new data. Images of strange ships. Designs that didn't match any known civilization. For the past decade, we've been detecting signals from beyond the galactic rim. Something is out there. Something that's been watching the galaxy for a very long time. And now, it's moving. What is it? Ven asked. We don't know yet. But whatever it is, it's powerful. More powerful than anything we've faced before. We need help. We need partners who understand the truth about the galaxy and can work with us to face this threat. Krell looked at the vast archive, at the records of 50,000 years of human guardianship. You want the Communion to join your network. I want you to understand what you're part of, Chen corrected. The galaxy isn't a collection of random civilizations developing independently. It's a garden that's been tended carefully for millennia. And now that garden faces a threat we can't handle alone. An alarm suddenly blared through the archive. Red lights flashed. Human technicians rushed to their stations. A holographic communication appeared. A man in a military uniform looked grim. Commander Chen, we have a situation. The Vexor hierarchy has declared war on the Zeltharian Communion. Their fleet is mobilizing 10,000 warships. They're planning a massive assault on the Communion homeworld. Krell felt his blood turn cold. The Vexor hierarchy was the most aggressive empire in the galaxy. Their military was legendary. 10,000 warships could devastate the Communion. When? Chen asked calmly. They launch in 6 hours. Chen glanced at Krell. Sorry, Ambassador. It seems the galaxy won't wait for us to finish this conversation. She turned back to the communication. Prepare the Shepherd. I want Captain Rodriguez on this personally. Already done, Commander. The Shepherd is moving into position. 1 ship. Krell said incredulously. Against 10,000? Chen smiled, and there was something ancient and powerful in that smile. Ambassador, I think it's time you saw what humanity can really do when we stop hiding. She gestured to a technician. Prepare the observation deck. Our guests are about to witness a direct intervention. As they moved toward another part of the archive, Krell's mind reeled. He had thought the revelations were over. He had thought he understood the scope of human power, but something in Chen's expression told him that everything he had seen so far was just the beginning. The real demonstration was about to begin, and, based on the confident way the humans moved, the Vexor hierarchy had just made a terrible mistake. They had threatened a civilization. Under humanity's protection, and humanity, Krell was beginning to understand, did not tolerate threats to their garden. Aliens made first contact, then realized humanity was the galaxy's supreme force. Part 5. The Truth and the Choice. The emergency lasted for 6 hours. Krell watched as humanity's hidden network activated completely. Across the galaxy, stations that had been concealed for millennia came online. Ships appeared from nowhere. The true scope of human presence became visible for the first time and recorded history. It was staggering. Thousands of human vessels emerged from hidden positions. Defense platforms that had looked like asteroids revealed themselves. Space stations disguised as nebulae powered up their systems. The entire galaxy was revealed to be covered in a web of human technology. But the fleet coming from beyond the galactic rim was still larger. Chen coordinated responses from the archive. She was calm, but focused. This was what she had trained for across centuries of life. Orders went out in dozens of languages. Human personnel across the galaxy moved with practiced efficiency. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the unknown ships stopped. They halted at the galactic rim. Waited. Made no aggressive moves. Open a communication channel, Chen ordered. All frequencies. All languages. A massive hologram appeared in the observation deck. It showed a being unlike anything Krell had ever seen. It was vaguely humanoid, but seemed to shift and change as he looked at it. Its voice, when it spoke, resonated in a way that bypassed translation entirely. Everyone understood it directly. Humans, the being said. We are the architects. We have been watching your species for a very long time. Chen stood straight, her expression respectful but unafraid. We are honored by your presence, architects. May we ask your purpose? We created this galaxy, the being said simply. Millions of years ago, we seeded it with life. We designed the conditions for civilization to emerge, and then we left to see what would grow. Krell felt his mind struggling to process this. The architects. Yes. The beings who had created the galaxy itself. We have returned, the being continued, to see what has become of our garden. We have watched from afar as thousands of species emerged, grew, and developed, and we have watched humanity with particular interest. Why? Chen asked. Because you are unique. Most species, when they gain power, seek to control others. They conquer or they isolate. But humanity chose a different path. You became guardians. You protected without dominating, guided without controlling. This is rare. This is valuable. The being gestured, and images appeared, scenes from across human history, interventions, rescues, quiet acts of protection, 50,000 years of guardianship displayed in moments. You have done well, the architect said. The garden has flourished under your care. Civilizations have grown strong. The galaxy is more stable and peaceful than it has been in millions of years. This is your achievement. Chen bowed her head slightly. We've done our best. But we've also made mistakes. We've failed to prevent suffering sometimes. We've had to make difficult choices about when to intervene and when to let events unfold. Perfection is impossible, the architect replied. Even we, with all our power, could not create a perfect galaxy. There will always be pain, will always be struggle. The question is not whether suffering exists, but whether the overall arc bends toward growth and light. And in this, humanity has succeeded. What happens now? Chen asked. Are you here to reclaim the galaxy? To judge us? No. We are here to offer you a choice. The architect's form seemed to solidify slightly. We have many galaxies under our care. Each one needs guardians. Each one needs species who understand the responsibility of power. We are offering humanity the opportunity to join us, to become architects ourselves, to help tend other gardens beyond this one. Krell felt his breath catch. The architects were offering humanity a place among the galaxy's creators. What would happen to this galaxy? Chen asked carefully. That is part of the choice. If humanity leaves to join us, this galaxy would need new guardians, or it would need to learn to protect itself. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "May we have time to consider this offer? Of course, we will wait at the rim. When you are ready, call us." The hologram faded. The observation deck was silent. Then Chen turned to Krell. "Ambassador, I need your help. And the help of the communion." "Anything," Krell said without hesitation.
Pathfinder.
"After what you've shown me, what you've done for us, we owe you everything." "No," Chen said firmly. "You owe us nothing. That's the point. It's everything you've achieved, every success your civilization has had. That's yours. We just made sure you had the chance to grow. The strength came from within you. The architect's offer is tempting. To explore other galaxies. To learn from beings older than time. But if humanity leaves, this galaxy would be vulnerable. We've built a network of protection that spans 50,000 years. Without it, chaos, Ven finished. Species would face threats they don't know exist. Wars would escalate. The Void Reavers and others like them would run unchecked. Unless, Chen said slowly, we share the truth. Unless we teach other species what we know. Unless we create a new kind of galactic civilization. One where multiple species work together to maintain peace and protect each other. Krell understood. You want to train us? To pass on the responsibility of guardianship? Not just you. Multiple species. It's a communion, the Corvin Republic, even the Vexer hierarchy. Every civilization that's ready to understand the truth and accept the burden of protecting others. Will they accept it? Ven asked, knowing that their entire history was shaped by hidden guardians. Some will be angry, Chen admitted. Some will feel their achievements were diminished. But others will understand. The strong help the weak. The wise teach the ignorant. That's how civilization survives. She looked directly at Krell. This is why we revealed ourselves to you, Ambassador. We need partners. We need species who can continue the work if we choose to accept the architect's offer. And the communion is one of the most stable, ethical civilizations in the galaxy. You have the wisdom and the strength to become guardians. Krell felt the weight of that responsibility. What would it involve? Training, technology transfer, integration into the protection network. You would learn where our hidden stations are, how our systems work, how to identify and respond to threats. It would take decades, maybe centuries. But eventually the communion and others could maintain stability without constant human intervention. And if we fail? Krell asked. If we're not ready for this responsibility, then we stay, Chen said simply. We refuse the architect's offer. We continue our work here, but I think humanity has done enough. We've been guardians for 50,000 years. Perhaps it's time to let others grow into that role. Ven was reviewing data on her personal device. Commander, I'm looking at the technical specifications for just one of your hidden stations. The knowledge required to maintain this system spans dozens of scientific disciplines. It would take my people years just to understand one facility, let alone the entire network. Then we start teaching, Chen replied. We have time. The architects are patient. And humanity has become very good at teaching secretly. Krell stood up. I need to contact my government. I need to know the truth about humanity, about the galaxy, about everything. Are you sure? Chen asked. Once the truth is out, there's no taking it back. Your civilization will never see the universe the same way again. Good, Krell said firmly. Because the universe isn't what we thought it was, and it's time we stopped living in ignorance. He paused. Commander, I have one question. Why did you wait so long? Why reveal yourselves now instead of continuing to work in secret? Chen smiled. Because the galaxy is growing up, Ambassador. For 50,000 years, human guardianship was necessary. Species needed protection from threats they couldn't handle. But now, civilizations are becoming more mature, more capable, more wise. The galaxy doesn't need parents anymore. It needs partners. She gestured at the map showing the Architect's fleet at the rim. And because new opportunities are emerging, humanity can't be guardians forever. We need to trust that we've taught the galaxy well enough that it can protect itself. What if we choose wrong? Krell asked. What if we become tyrannical? What if we use your technology for conquest instead of protection? Then you'll face the same choice humanity faced 48,000 years ago, Chen replied. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. But wisdom earned through mistakes becomes strength. Trust that the civilizations we've protected will make better choices than we did at their age. Over the next few days, the truth spread throughout the galaxy. Commander Chen and her team began contacting leaders of every major civilization. The revelations caused shock, anger, gratitude, and fear in equal measure. The Vexer Emperor personally contacted Chen to thank her for revealing his species' history. The Corvin Republic's council debated for hours before accepting the truth. Dozens of smaller civilizations celebrated, feeling validated that their instincts about mysterious guardians had been correct all along, and the Zeltharian Communion, after careful consideration, accepted humanity's offer to begin training as new guardians. Krell stood in the archive 3 weeks later, watching as the first group of Communion officers began their orientation. Human instructors patiently explained systems that had been hidden for millennia. Ven was there too, eagerly absorbing technical information about the reality-folding drives. Chen joined him at the observation window. No regrets, Ambassador? Many regrets, Krell admitted. I regret that my people lived in ignorance for so long. I regret all the times we could have learned from humanity but didn't. But I don't regret learning the truth. Ignorance might feel safe, but it's a cage. Wise words. Chen looked out at the training session. Humanity will be voting soon on the Architect's offer. The decision is difficult. To stay or to go. To continue what we've built. Or to explore new frontiers. What will you choose? Krell asked. Chen was quiet for a moment. I think humanity will split. Some will stay to continue the work here, to guide the transition to the new Guardians. Others will accept the Architect's offer and explore beyond this galaxy. Both choices are valid. Both serve the greater good. And you. Stay for a while, Chen said. At least until I'm sure the Communion and the others are ready. A few more decades of teaching. Then, just smiled. Then maybe I'll see what other galaxies look like. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the future of galactic civilization being shaped below them. Commander Krell said finally, Thank you. For everything humanity has done. For the protection we never knew we had. For the truth, even though it's overwhelming. For trusting us with this responsibility? Thank you, Ambassador, Chen replied. For being ready to accept it. For understanding that great power requires great humility. For choosing to become guardians instead of masters. She placed a hand on his shoulder. The galaxy is in good hands. Not just human hands anymore. Many hands, working together. Krell looked up at the display showing the entire galaxy. Thousands of civilizations, all developing, all growing, all protected by a web of care that stretched across 50,000 years. Soon, that web would be maintained by many species, not just one. The responsibility would be shared, the burden would be lighter, and the galaxy would be stronger for it. The architects waited at the rim, patient and ancient. They had seen countless galaxies evolve. They knew that the best civilizations were those that learned to protect each other, and in this galaxy, in humanity's garden, that lesson had been learned well. The age of the hidden guardian was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning. And for the first time in 50,000 years, humanity could rest. Knowing that the garden they had tended so carefully was ready to bloom on its own, Krell felt hope, stronger than any he had known before. Not because humanity was powerful, but because they had chosen to share that power. Not because they had protected the galaxy, but because they had taught the galaxy to protect itself. That, he realized, was the greatest strength of all. Not the power to save others, but the wisdom to teach them how to save themselves. And as the first generation of new guardians began their training in the archive, deep beneath Earth's ice, the galaxy took its next step toward maturity, a step guided by human wisdom. But taken with feet belonging to many species, together building something greater than any one civilization could achieve alone. The future was uncertain. But for the first time, in a very long time, it was truly shared, and that made all the difference.